Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda and this is from Miranda's Kitchen. Obviously today we are not in the kitchen. Today's video is different. I really want to sit down and talk to you guys because it is the end of the year and I've been doing a lot of reflecting, about like what I've done this year. This was my first full 12 months working in the food industry. 2022 was. So I've learned a lot this year. I've picked up a lot of new skills. I've learned a lot about myself and what I can do. So I kind of wanted to share that. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are reflecting on this past year and what you guys have done. This, of course, is strictly about my career. I've learned so many things outside of working career-wise this year. I'm going to do 5 things that I've learned in 2022 when it comes to career and being in the food industry. First thing, y'all, for sure, this is the first thing that I really learned when I got in the kitchen, and one of the biggest lessons that I have learned, and it has spilled into so many different parts of my life, and that is to speak up. Like, I have to have a voice. You have to speak and say something. There was a time in my life when I was definitely more quiet, more timid, not the one to speak up first, especially if there was a problem. Like, I never wanted to like let a group know that there was a problem. But being in the kitchen, like, you have to let everyone know if something is going wrong. Like, you have to communicate. You can't hold things in. For example, if we're in the middle of like a crazy lunch rush and I'm like running out of something, I have to say it. Like, when I first started, I would be really nervous about letting my boss know or letting the team know, like, hey, like, people can't order this anymore because I'm running out of it. And it wouldn't be my fault. Like, I would have been prepped. It's just like we're so busy and like I'm running out of everything that I have prepped. So I had to speak up and say, like, okay, no, I can't do that right now. Or like, this isn't gonna work for me. We need to pivot. We need to find something else to do. I have to find my voice, and I can't be afraid to express when something is challenging so that I can be more successful. That was one of the first things that Jessica ever told me when I got in the kitchen, is that I needed to speak up. When I first got in the kitchen, I was super intimidated. I was trying to act like I had it all together, but I was very intimidated. So I would speak really low, and like, if you've ever been in a professional kitchen, like, it's loud in there. We have a vent hood on. We might have the oven going with the confection. We might have a blender going. Like, like, there's pots and pans. People are chopping. Like, so it could get loud, plus customers. So, like, I would be, like, talking super low. And, like, one of the first things that Jessica ever told me was that I needed to speak up and speak louder. And I've definitely been implementing that, not just in the kitchen, but in other parts of my life. Number 2, which is one of my favorites. I have talked about this in a different video. It is to stay creative. Y'all, staying creative is so important. Of course, in the kitchen, like, you have to be innovative. Like, people don't want boring food. People don't want a boring menu. People don't want like the same old. That's because I have never made something before. It doesn't mean I don't have the right to make it, or to try to make it, or to attempt to make something. Like, you literally have to stay creative. You have to be innovative. You have to be thinking outside of the box, because that is what's going to get people to come back. People, of course, love consistency, but I think that consistency should be in flavor. Like, it should be consistently delicious, but always new and creative. I'm already a really creative person, but learning to express that creativity in the kitchen has been such a beautiful process, and one of the things that I really have taken away from this year. Number 3, y'all, number 3, the third thing I've learned this year in the food industry is to trust myself, to trust my guts. Like, if something doesn't taste right, trust it. Like, like, it's so crazy because I know what I need to add sometimes, but sometimes I stop myself, or I might say, okay, well, what would my dad add? Or what would Jessica add? What would Cullen add? Like, I look up to these other people who are more experienced than me, and I try to think of what they would do instead of what I would do. And the truth be told, like, when people are eating my food, they want my food. So I have to trust myself and believe that what I know is right is right. So just trusting myself, for sure. Trusting myself, trusting my gut, tasting everything. Like, taste everything at every step, so that you know exactly what you're giving people. The point is to trust myself, to trust my gut, and to go with what I know is right. Or, y'all, this is a good one. It is to find a solution. That sounds so simple. Like, finding a solution sounds so simple, but you will be so surprised how many people do not know how to find a solution. Being of the mindset of problem solving and not sitting in misery when something goes wrong. Like, so this is the word I'm trying to say, solution-based thinking. Like, you have to be in a space where you have to find solutions. When you're in the kitchen, especially when you're in a professional kitchen, things do not always go right. There is always room for error. There's room for mistakes. There is room for you to drop something, and you have to come up with something literally on the fly. Like, you have to find a solution. Remaining calm in stressful situations so that you can come up with a solution. I have the perfect example of solution-based thinking. This happened literally this week. I am not a baker. I'm not a pastry chef. That is not my gig, okay? I stay in my lane. I am a chef. I am a cook. But a baker, I am not. And I never pretend to be. But we had some free time. I was like really prepped up for lunch. I was ready to go. And I was kind of just standing around. And she was like, hey, like, how about you make a dessert? I was like, okay. Like, I'm not going to tell her no. So I was like, okay, like, I'll make a dessert. So the first thing that came to my mind was chocolate chip cookies. I made some really good ones before. So I was like, yeah, I'll just make some vegan chocolate chip cookies. So I go on Pinterest and find the first recipe for vegan chocolate chip cookies, and I just started making it. Okay, side note, you cannot trust everything you find on Pinterest. That is number 1. Everything on Pinterest is not your friend. I pull the mixer out, and I pull the flour out, the sugar, the vegan butter, and I'm just like making these chocolate chip cookies. And so I get to the final step, and I'm looking at my dough, my cookie dough in the mixer. It does not resemble cookie dough at all. Like, really loose and like foamy, and yeah, it had a lot of air in it, and it just did not look like cookie dough at all. So I'm like going back and like I'm looking at the recipe, trying to figure out what was going on. And mind you, these are vegan cookies. So I'm going back and looking at this recipe, and I realized that yes, these are vegan cookies, but they did not use an egg replacement. So I'm like not even realizing that there is no replacement for the eggs in this recipe. So that's why this batter looks all wonky. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to just toss this because I've wasted all of these ingredients at this point. So I'm like, I'm not going to just toss it. So I take the batter, I scoop it out with a scooper and I put it on the sheet pan. And I know that if I stick these in the oven right now, it's just gonna be like a flat sheet cookie. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a solution. So I stuck them in the freezer. I was like, okay, I know that if I get this solid, it'll help it kind of recongeal the butter so that like it just doesn't turn into mush. So I stick them in the freezer for maybe like 30 minutes. I pull them out and they're firm. So I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna stick them in the oven and just kind of go with it, right? And then I come back in like 10 minutes or whatever. I look at my cookies, y'all. It's just like a blobber on the sheet pan. Like, this is so ridiculous. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this is not chocolate chip cookies. This is not gonna work for a dessert for lunch. Like, this is crazy. So I'm like still looking at them in the oven, and I'm like, okay, well, what am I gonna do with these cookies? So I leave them in the oven long enough for them to cook, and I pull them out. And when I pull them out, it's just like one big cookie, one big sheet pan cookie. I'm over here thinking, I'm like, okay, what can I do? I don't want to just scrap it. Like, I'm not getting upset at all. Like, I actually kind of thought it was funny because I'm like, you know, like, this is just not what I intended. I decided that we have all these stencils at Glow, right? Like, so many stencils. And that night we were gonna have a dinner party. It was a dinner party of just 8 private party. And so I was like, yo, like, I'm gonna take some of these stencils, cut out the cookies, and we'll put them on the plate because we were doing creme brulee for dessert. And I was like, this is gonna be perfect to go with the creme brulee. So I took a star stencil and cut out like 25 little stars out of this one big old sheet cookie, and they came out perfect. They were fucking delicious now. Like, they were so good, right? So the recipe was really tasty. It just didn't make sense as far as baking, because everything does not always work out the way that you want it to, and you just have to be able to pivot. And number 5 is that I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Like, I am doing exactly what I wanted to do, and I am exactly in the place that I'm supposed to be. In 2020, when the pandemic happened, I've talked about this before, I decided that I was going to pivot and change careers out of the mental health world, and I knew that I wanted to get into the food industry. Now, it took a lot for me to do that because I have my degree in psychology. I spent years building my career in the mental health field. And it was a really big and difficult decision for me to change and start my career all the way over. There are so many different ways in these times to be in the food industry. One of them is on YouTube, which I started. One of them is to work at a restaurant. One of them is to own a catering company. And it's amazing because I have done all of those things, and it's exactly where I'm supposed to be. It has led to so many other things and opportunities. I was featured in a magazine twice this year just from cooking, and it really is so humbling. It reminds me that I am where I'm supposed to be. And being a chef, and especially working at Glow, was really it was the perfect place. It was written in the stars for me to be there. It has led to so many other things and opportunities for me. I am now on the path to becoming a certified holistic health coach, and working in the food industry is one of the things that has gotten me to that point. Through working at Glow and being around the people that I'm around, it has led me to IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I will be finishing that certification in March, where I will be a holistic health coach. I'm just really excited to enter into the wellness space. I know, like, I feel so comfortable in the food industry, and not comfortable in a way where I'm stagnant, but comfortable in a way where I feel like I have successfully entered the food industry and it is definitely my career path now. And I'm really excited about being able to combine my love for wellness, my love for mental health, and my love for nutrition all together with my love for food. I'm really thankful for this past year. I've learned so many more things than this, but these were the top 5 things that I really wanted to share that I learned this year.